Janna Ranjana Yamunatira Vanachari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Vihari Jaya Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare Jaya Prabhupada Jaya Jaya Vishva Paramahansa Vavrajikacharya Sadasivadesi Bhaktivedanta Samsara Prabhupada Ki Jai Go Premanandi Hari Hari Bo Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya Namo Om Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prasthaya Bhutale Shrimate Bhaktivedanta Swami Niti Namane Namaste Saraswata Deve Gauravani Pracharane Nirvashesha Shunyavadi Paschachadesha Charane Sri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Sri Advaita Gadadhar Shivasadi Gaur Bhaktivinoda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. Reading from Śrīmad Bhāgavatam, Canto 10, Chapter 3, Birth of Lord Krishna, Text 22. Ayam tva sabhyastava jamma naugrahe Suf agrajams te nya vadit sareshvara Sate vataram purushaya samarpitam Shuf adu navir bisarat uda yudaha what it is? I am this rascal, too, but a sabya, who is not civilized at all, tava, of your lordship, janma, birth, now, our, grihe, into the home, shrutva, after hearing, agrajan, te, all the brothers born before you, Nyavadit, killed, Sureshwara, O Lord of the Suras, civilized persons, Sa, he that uncivilized, Kamsa, Te, your avataram, appearance, Purushai, by his lieutenants, Samarpatam, being informed of, Shrutva, after hearing, Aduna, now, Eva, indeed, Abhisarati, will come immediately, Udayuda, with raised weapons. Translation, O my Lord, Lord of the demigods, after hearing the prophecy that you would take birth in our home and kill him, this uncivilized Kamsa killed so many of your elder brothers. As soon as he hears from his lieutenants that you have appeared, he will immediately come with weapons to kill you. Purport, Kamsa has here been described as a sabya, meaning uncivilized or most heinous, because he killed the many children of his sister. When he heard the prophecy that he would be killed by her 8th son, this uncivilized man, Kamsa, was immediately ready to kill his innocent sister on the occasion of her marriage. An uncivilized man can do anything for the satisfaction of his senses. He can kill children, he can kill cows, he can kill brahmanas, he can kill old men. He has no mercy for anyone. According to the Vedic civilization, cows, women, children, old men, and brahmanas should be excused if they are at fault. But asuras, uncivilized men, do not care about that. At the present moment, the killing of cows and killing of children is going on unrestrictedly, and therefore this civilization is not at all human. And those who are conducting this condemned civilization are uncivilized asuras. Such uncivilized men are not in favor of the Krishna consciousness movement. As public officers, they declare without hesitation that the chanting of the Hare Krishna movement is a nuisance, although Bhagavad Gita clearly says, Satatam kirtayanto mam yatantascha dritavrata. According to this verse, it is the duty of the Mahatmas to chant the Hare Krishna mantra and try to spread it all over the world to the best of their ability. Unfortunately, society is in such an uncivilized state that there are so-called Mahatmas who are prepared to kill cows and children and stop the Hare Krishna movement. Such uncivilized activities are actually demonstrated in opposition to the Hare Krishna movement's Bombay center, Hare Krishna land. As Kamsa was not expected to kill the beautiful child of Devaki and Vasudeva, the uncivilized society, although unhappy with the advancement of the Krishna conscious movement, cannot be expected to stop it. Yeah, we must face many difficulties in many different ways. Although Krishna cannot be killed, Vasudeva, as the father of Krishna, was trembling because in affection he thought that Kamsa would immediately come and kill his son. Similarly, although the Krishna consciousness movement and Krishna are non-different, and no asuras can check it, we are afraid that at any moment the asuras can stop this movement in any part of the world. So this is Vasudeva, the father of Krishna, speaking. And we see that he is somewhat in fear that Kamsa will come and kill Krishna, just as he killed his elder brothers. And we can ask, well, why should Vasudeva be afraid that Kamsa will kill Krishna? Because Krishna is Supreme Lord, he's eternal, his body cannot be touched by any asura, can never be killed. On the other hand, even a jiva cannot be killed. And in the second chapter of Bhagavad Gita, Krishna preaches to Arjuna, don't think about killing people in this war. Nobody's the body. You don't kill anybody. You don't get killed. You don't kill anybody. Don't think of this as being all, like a sin, because you don't die. And here we think of, here we see Vasudeva, oh, Krishna's going to get killed, as if he's identifying Krishna with the material body. So why would this happen? Because Vasudeva is, an eternal associate of the Lord. One answer is that Vasudeva is the father of Krishna eternally. At least one father. Nanda is the other father. So Vasudeva has a particular relationship with Krishna to show his affection, and that is he acts as a father. This is Nanda acts as a father. And Devaki and Yasoda act as mothers of Krishna. Not only they act as mother and father, they are mother and father of Krishna and as eternal. And in that relationship, it looks a little bit peculiar from the point of normal point of view of who is God, because the parent takes a superior position and Krishna takes an inferior position. The normal position for people when they think of God is supreme and we are little servants. But in the position of being a parent, that is Vatsalya Rasa, the devotee takes the role of being superior, older than Krishna, bigger than Krishna, more intelligent than Krishna, and protecting Krishna. So this is the role of a parent. And of course, in the material world, it is material, and thus everything is temporary. But this is also part of the spiritual world. Vatsalya Rasa is eternal. And therefore, these relationships between Vasudeva and Krishna, Nanda and Krishna, are eternal. And they always think of Krishna as their son. So part of that relationship of thinking of Krishna as the son is that Krishna needs to be protected. That is the sentiment of a parent. And particularly when the child is small. Just as in the material world, not just human beings, but even animals, they have their small kittens or puppies or whatever, birds or whatever, and the parents are looking after them because they're completely unprotected. And of course, animals, we can say by instinct or whatever, they're protecting. So the human beings also, mother and father, protect the children. So we say natural instinct, so to speak. But in that so-called instinct, there is also great affection. So in the spiritual world also, we have affectionate relationship of parent to child. Krishna is the child, some jiva or devotee is the parent, or like a parent. And so they desire to protect Krishna, which doesn't seem to be the normal case because Krishna is the Supreme Lord and he doesn't need any protection. He protects us. But in this particular rasa, everything is reversed. And the devotee is protecting Krishna. This may seem a little bit contradictory, and thus it is puzzling to many people how you can have such a relationship with God where you're superior to God. And thus many people are not too attracted to that. And they would rather see God as the supreme controller sitting on a throne or whatever, is like a king or whatever, and we're all serving. And thus we'll see that by and large, even in human society, most people are attracted to worshiping the form of Vishnu. Vishnu is supreme, everybody else is servant. That's a common conception, not just within the Vedic culture, but around the world. So most religions will say, yes, we are the servant of God, and God is supreme. God sits on a throne someplace in the sky, we're all his servants. So it's kind of a natural thing. Why? Because we define God as the supreme being, and everybody else is controlled by him. So it's natural to think of as supreme. So therefore, worshiping God in such a way that we don't seem to be worshiping, we seem to be controlling him, it looks a little bit strange and not so popular. Right? So thus the worship of Krishna also is not so popular as the worship of Vishnu and other forms. Nevertheless, there is some advantage in this. What is the advantage? The advantage is, or we say the plus point, is that the relationship between the devotee and Krishna in Vatsalya Rasa can be very intense. Yeah? So we know that we have rasas. We have Shanta Rasa, Dasya Rasa, Vatsalya Rasa, and Madhurya Rasa. And they're all wonderful, they're all spiritual, and they're all eternal. And a jiva can have any of these relationships, and they're eternally satisfied with them. They don't change rasa. Nevertheless, in our sampradaya, we also grade the rasas as inferior and superior, in spite of the fact that they're all supreme in one sense and all spiritual. And so we put Shanta Rasa at the bottom because it is the weakest type of prema. When the attachment to Krishna and affection get more, it becomes Dasya Rasa, where we act as a servant of Krishna and we serve him nicely. The Shanta Rasa Prabhupada calls neutral rasa. It's not actually neutral because if it was neutral, it'd be like Brahman or something, or maybe no relationship at all. So it's a little bit above neutral. There is obviously prema there. It's part of rasa, so it's prema, but it's rather weak. And the impetus to serve the Lord is much weaker. So in that sense, it's neutral. With dasya, then that service attitude becomes stronger. If we get to sakya rasa, the relationship becomes more intimate. So intimate that the idea of superior and inferior disappear. And then the devotees are all equal with Krishna. And that's why we see in 10th canto it's described how Krishna is playing with the cowherd boys in the forest of Vrindavan. And they don't see inferior or superior. Krishna is an equal. They joke with Krishna as equals, and they eat with Krishna as equals. It's not that Krishna is in a special place and everybody else is separate. No, Krishna is eating with them, exchanging food. They play together, they wrestle, and sometimes Krishna loses, but sometimes Krishna wins. We see that Krishna has to carry a cowherd boy on his shoulders because he loses sometimes, but sometimes he wins. So they're equal. And that's a rather intimate relationship, so it's a little more intense than dasya. When we get to Vatsalya Rasa, that's considered to be more intense. But it's not equal. Krishna is inferior and devotee is superior. But we see, as in the material world, this relationship between mother and son is quite strong. Yeah? So similar in the spiritual world, Mother Yasoda and Nanda's relationship with Krishna, very strong. Yeah? And they're always trying to protect Krishna. Because Krishna is the child, then they automatically want to protect him. That's, of course, contradictory to the idea that God is Supreme Lord. How could it exist? It does not exist in Vaikuntha. It does not exist in Dwarka, or at least in a modified form. But if we go to Vrindavan, then that's the only way it exists. Mother Yasoda and Nanda, they never see Krishna as Supreme Lord at all. And he's completely at their mercy. And thus we will see that Krishna is treated as a small child. But just as in the material world, the mother and father have their children, and they try to teach them things. They make them learn things. They punish them, whatever like this. So this happens with Krishna. Even though you shouldn't punish God, you can't teach God anything because he's omniscient. But Mother Yasoda and Nanda are teaching Krishna how to do things. And then Mother Yasoda is punishing Krishna by running after him with a stick, tying him up. So, very contradictory to the normal conception of God, but very natural for a person who sees Krishna as their son. So that is Vatsalya Rasa, and that relationship, very, very strong. Of course, even higher than that is Madhurya Rasa, Krishna's relationship with the gopis. That, again, is kind of equal. But then sometimes Radha is superior to Krishna also. Sometimes Krishna is superior to Radha, so it's a mixture. But this is the most intense of all. So with Krishna, we get various degrees of intensity of the relationship and consequently intensity of the bliss. And thus we put Madhurya Rasa at the top and Radha and Krishna at the very top because of the intensity of rasa and the intense bliss. So in this intensity then, any idea that Krishna is God and he's superior and we must be his servants in all case, that idea disappears from the mind. And you think only of Krishna in one's loving relationship. That's in Vrindavan. So that type of relationship is considered to be the highest. And so in that type of world, in Goloka, then we don't see Krishna and the devotees acting like you would expect them to act, where Krishna is God, everybody else is serving, and they see him as God. And that will disturb the mood. So here we see, in this case also, Vasudeva is thinking, oh, Krishna's in danger, Kamsa is going to kill him. Could not be killed, ultimately. But this is the natural feeling of a parent, that we have to protect our child. And therefore that is expressed here. Vasudeva has fear that Kamsa will kill and try to kill Krishna, etc. So that's a natural expression of Vatsalya Rasa. It is not an indication of ignorance, that Vasudeva is ignorant of the identity of Krishna. It is a type of ignorance, of course. And thus we'll see that in Goloka, everybody's covered by ignorance. It's not material ignorance. It's yogamaya and the intensity of rasa, so that certain things are covered up. Definitely, Krishna is Supreme Lord, everybody is a servant. That's tattva, philosophy. But that is overridden by the power of love of Krishna in Vrindavan. It is so intense that is completely covered up. So in that sense, there is ignorance. And the relationship becomes more priority for all the devotees there. And therefore, they ignore the idea of Krishna as God. So this is how relationships operate in the spiritual world, based upon the love rather than conceptions of who is God, etc. So this is the position, that is why Goloka is put at the top in Vrindavan, with Krishna as a cowherd boy, with all the devotees there. And then we have Vaikuntha below with Vishnu. In between, we get something else. We get avatar forms like Ramchandra, for instance, who's kind of like Vishnu because everyone sees him as God and they worship him, Dasya Rasa, etc. It's a little bit more friendly and intimate. So he's placed a little bit above Vaikuntha, that is, Ayodhya is a little bit above Vaikuntha. We have Krishna in Dwarka. So that is Krishna, so he's superior to Vishnu and Rama. But Krishna in Dwarka is also inferior to Krishna in Vrindavan. And why? Because even though he's the same form, blue and whatever, and he has all the relationships like Vatsalya and Madhurya and Sakya and Dasya and Shanta, the people of Dwarka see Krishna as Supreme Lord also. So this dilutes the rasas. So all the rasas are present there, but they're in a weaker form than they are in Vrindavan. And therefore, it's put in a lower position. So in Nectar Devotion, Rupa Goswami describes 3 Krishnas. The Krishna in Dwarka is called Purna, which puts him in a superior position than Ramchandra or Vishnu. But Krishna in Mathura is called Purnatara, which means more perfect. So slightly a more intense relationship. Because in Mathura, Krishna doesn't assume such powers, does not expand himself into 16,108 palaces with 16,108 queens and whatever like that. So it's a little bit more elevated. And if we get to Vrindavan, then of course there is no idea that Krishna is Supreme Lord or that he has powers anymore. So we have Vasudeva and Devaki. They see Krishna here and he is born. How is he born? He has 4 arms. He is a Vishnu form. So obviously Vasudeva also, though he thinks Krishna, he's my son and I have to protect him, at the same time he's seeing this form with 4 arms. So he also understands he is the Supreme Lord. So it's a mixture. And that is, you could say, continues in his relationship with Krishna in Mathura and Dwarka. So whenever he sees Krishna, yes, he's my son, but he's also Supreme Lord. In Vrindavan, Nanda and Yasoda, what did they see when Krishna is born? 2-handed form, little baby. That's it. So they think, yeah, Krishna is our eternal son. And he's not Vishnu, he's different. Vishnu protects Krishna. Thus, Krishna looks like he kills demons, but actually it's Vishnu protecting him. So whenever Krishna, as a small child, like kills Putana or kills Trinavarta, etc., they say, well, yeah, Vishnu is protecting him. That's all. Because he's a small child, and he can't do anything. He's just our son. So a son cannot do anything. So whatever remarkable things happen, it's not because of Krishna, it's because of Vishnu. He's protecting him. So Krishna does kill a lot of demons in Vrindavan, but the people always attribute it not to Krishna. And so it doesn't break their idea that Krishna is anything but their son. And that continues, and that preserves the intensity of their love for Krishna. So, because of that intensity of love, the people of Vrindavan are considered to be the best devotees. In Dwarka and other places, it's less. And the form is considered to be supreme in Vrindavan, less in Dwarka, and then less in the other forms in Vaikuntha and with different avatars. So that is the basic difference between Vasudev's realization of Krishna and Nanda's realization of Krishna. It's both Vatsalya, but a little bit different. So, here, Vasudeva does worry because if he's a parent, and therefore, yes, Krishna is our son, and therefore we have to protect him and whatever, and he gets worried about Kamsa. The same sentiment will be there in Vrindavan with Nanda Yasoda, trying to protect Krishna at all times. The only difference is that in Vrindavan, Nanda Yasoda never think of Krishna as also the Supreme Lord. So they're always trying to protect Krishna because he's simply their child, whatever. Therefore, here we find Krishna appears in the material world with a form, with a mother and father, Vasudeva and Devaki, who have a Vatsalya relationship. At the same time, he announces, I am Supreme Lord, because he comes out with 4 arms, etc. So, this is the appearance of Krishna for Vasudeva and Devaki. Simultaneously, Krishna manifests himself in Vrindavan. And Nanda and Yasoda see Krishna, small child, being born, 2 arms, little child. No Vishnu, nothing. So this is, we can say, also the evidence that the desire, expectation of Vasudeva and Devaki and Nanda and Yasoda are quite different. Their expectation is different. Krishna appears differently to them. So, in other words, Krishna is responding to the desires of different types of devotees. And accordingly, he adjusts his form in different ways. Those devotees who expect a very intimate, intense relationship, they manifest themselves in Vrindavan, and they take up forms as inhabitants of Vrindavan. Those who have a mixture of grandeur with their different rasas, they are born in Mathura or Dwarka. And those who are just exclusively into reverence, and they're born in Vaikuntha. And they take up forms there. But everybody is satisfied with their particular relationship. So the basic principle from our point of view as sadhakas is we are free to choose the form that we worship. So we can worship Vishnu, we can worship Rama, we can worship Nrsimhadev, we can worship Krishna, we can worship Krishna at Dwarka, we can worship Krishna in Mathura or in Vrindavan. If we choose the other forms, we don't have much choice of rasa. We can choose Shanta rasa or Dasya rasa, even with Ramchandra. That's it. If we choose Krishna in Dwarka, Mathura, or in Vrindavan, we can choose Shanta, Dasya, Sakya, Vatsa, or Madhurya. We get 5 choices, not 2 choices. So we get a little more free will operating there if we choose Krishna. If we don't choose Krishna, then we're stuck with two options only. We choose Krishna, then we have 5 options. So even there, we can choose. And according to our choice, we practice our sadhana. And according to our sadhana, we get our perfection. So this is all Krishna's mercy. So we choose Dasya Rasa with Krishna in Vrindavan, then we become Dasas of Krishna in Vrindavan. We choose Sakya Rasa in Vrindavan, we become cowherd boys in Vrindavan. We choose Vatsalya Rasa in Vrindavan, we become elder cowherd boys, cowherd men or women in Vrindavan. We choose Madhurya Rasa, then we become Manjaris or Sakis in Vrindavan when we get perfection. So This is the arrangement that Krishna makes to fulfill our particular desires. But somewhere in our sadhana, we have to start choosing. And based on that choice, you get result. There is a little bit of a, we could say, a loophole or something. You don't want to choose. So you like everything a little bit. So that's nice, but the problem is nothing is very intense. So it's a little bit of everything. So you like a little dasya, you like a little sakya, whatever, a little bit of everything. So it's like the material world. Yeah, you like a little bit of everything. You like a little bit of Chinese food, a little Italian food, a little Indian food, a little American food, a little bit of everything. So, okay, we'll eat anything, no problem. But the intensity of rasa, if it is there, it concentrates on one rasa only. That's more intense. Consequently, the bliss is more. So you can say, oh, we like variety and everything, but then the intensity of the rasa is very little. So it's like it's a type of shanta. You get a little bit of everything. Okay, some people like that, a little bit of everything. But if you're more committed, then you choose particular rasa and you concentrate on that, and then you get that. So again, it's choice. So this is how Krishna fulfills the desires of the devotees. He gives us all sorts of choices, and depending on what we choose, and then Krishna responds very, very nicely to that and fulfills all of our desires eternally in the spiritual world. Okay, Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna Maharaj, thank you for the wonderful class. As a last point you mentioned about choosing the rasa as part of sadhana, we have been always cautioned not to prematurely choose a rasa, in the sense, people in the beginners, they say, what's your rasa? It doesn't make a lot of sense. So as sadhakas, at what stage one actually look into or one is drawn to a particular rasa, or is there any definition?
Well, part of it is according to sampradaya, because if you choose a certain sampradaya, your rasas may be a little bit limited. So if you choose Ramanuja sampradaya, you're limited to dasya. If you choose Madhva sampradaya, you're limited to dasya, and all you do is worship Vishnu ultimately as the supreme entity. So it's quite limited. If you choose to follow Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, of course, then because we choose Krishna as the main object of worship, then we have these options. There could be a few persons, Lord Chaitanya's movement, we have Murari Gupta, for instance. He was a Ram Bhakta. He wasn't so there is the movement is free, so free that we can also have people who are worshiping other forms of the Lord besides Krishna, and somehow they can adjust within Lord Chaitanya's movement. It is there. But generally, obviously, it's to Krishna, and more than Krishna, Lord Chaitanya is emphasizing Madhurya Rasa, because Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is also Krishna with the mood of Radha, so that's very, very prominent. He's Lord Chaitanya's combination of Radha Krishna, so then it's natural that most people will gravitate towards Radha Krishna and Madhurya Rasa, so that's kind of natural. But it's not absolute again. So there are devotees in Lord Chaitanya, for instance, his parents, they're in Vatsalya Rasa, obviously, not Madhurya Rasa. Some are in Dasya Rasa, Srivas Pandit. We get Sakya Rasa, of course, Nityananda and Lord Chaitanya Sakya Rasa. And all Nityananda's followers are the 12 Gopals, who are in Sakya Rasa also. So therefore, there are some of Lord Chaitanya and Nityananda's associates who are in Dasya Rasa also. So it's an option. So we get all the rasas also there within Lord Chaitanya's movement, and you could, choose any of them, whatever, if that's your desire. But of course, the emphasis is always upon Madhurya Rasa, so that's what we would say the majority of people would gravitate towards Madhurya Rasa, but then there may be people who are stubbornly stuck on one rasa, and then there's no problem with that also, because each person is an individual. So when to choose, of course, that's up to the individual when they develop a certain attraction. So that's why in discussing Raganuga Bhakti, which is a sadhana in which you kind of choose your particular ideal in Vrindavan, it could be, Nanda and Yasoda or cowherd boys or Sakis or Manjaris or whatever. It's when you develop that greed. So it's not defined in terms of stages or anything. It could happen at any stage when that intensity of that desire for a certain relationship manifests. So it's dependent on that, not particularly on the stage of development.
Maharaj, in that regard, we have heard that it's only at Nishtha one may choose, that intense desire would develop only at the stage of Nishtha. Is it right, in terms of Raganuga, or even before?
There is some suggestion like that in some of Bhaktivedanta Thakur's writings. So that is reasonable because before that stage you are anishtata, which is unsteady. So if you're unsteady, then you're not likely to, choose, let's say, positively any particular type of relationship. On the other hand, as I said, there's no a definite idea that only at this stage you are allowed to choose or whatever. So therefore, we'll see that in Ragvartma Chandrika, Vishnu Chakravarti says you can begin your sadhana with Raganuga, which would mean you would have to choose at that stage a particular relationship, whether it is Dasya, Sakhya, Vatsalya, or Madhurya. So it could happen from the very beginning of sadhana even, not just at Nishtha stage. So, and we will see that in the Vallabha Sampradaya, it's all Raganuga from the very beginning of sadhana. It is Raganuga, so they've chosen a particular relationship, dominantly Vatsalya. Of course, there is a little Madhurya there also, but it's Raganuga and it's largely Vatsalya, so they've made their choice that way. Whereas in Gaudiya Sampradaya, it's largely Madhurya. So though the choices are there, it's not so prominent. So most people gravitate towards the Madhurya, even from beginning of sadhana, because we have Radha Krishna deities and whatever. We're chanting Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna Maharaj, thank you for the nice class. Maharaj, you were mentioning about Vatsalya Ras. So my question is, can a practitioner devotee in sadhana develop appreciation for Vatsalya Ras, even if their eternal rasa might be a bit different?
Can they practice Vatsalya now when their eternal rasa is different?
Can they develop appreciation for Vatsalya Ras?
Oh, well, devotees have appreciation for all rasas. So in Nectar Devotion, Rupa Goswami presents all rasas, Shanta, Dasya, Sakya, Vatsalya, Surya, and he doesn't want to criticize anything, and there are eternal associates in all rasas, so we don't criticize any devotees. We don't criticize Srivas Pandit or because he's in Dasya, or Murari Gupta because he's in Dasya with Rama. We like to encourage all devotees. From the objective point of view, of course, we exalt Madhurya Rasa as the highest because it's most intense, it's the most intimate, and we have Radha Krishna at the top. But we never reject or criticize any of the rasas. And if any individual devotee has attraction for any of these rasas, that's fine. There's no problem for that. So if you're, let's say, have attraction for Radha Krishna, Madhurya Rasa, definitely you admire Nanda and Yasoda for their relationship with Krishna, no problem. But it's not that you're cultivating that. You have a different relation, but you respect all of the different devotees in Vraja and all their relationships. Oh.
Thank you, Maharaj. Bringing some new point for me, I understood that sadhana can be begun from Raganuga, and you bring so many good points. Just want to ask, like, as we prominent to a Vedic bhakti, And in ISKCON and in Chaitanya Mahaprabhu mission, we just trying to follow this Vedic Bhakti as we've been taught by Prabhupada and all those, which is a very essential. But there's so many sadhkas. Someone might be going through the different rasas, like 5 different rasas, and in general sadhaka following this, practicing this something, Vedic Bhakti, do this, do that. So how do we, if someone is doing something in different way, how do we understand and should we correct that person, or should we not to do anything because it might be offensive? It might get offended the devotee because he's in different thoughts, different process.
Well, we cannot criticize if they have attraction for different rasas or whatever. As I said, in the spiritual world, all the devotees respect all the other devotees. The gopis don't criticize Mother Yasoda. You say you got the wrong rasa there, you have to be a gopi. They don't say that. She's a parent, and they respect it. Similarly, the parents respect Madhurya rasa, Sakya rasa, etc. So they're all respectable. And similarly, in the material world, all the rasas are presented as options for the devotees worshiping Krishna. So they always have that choice and freedom to choose. So we can't criticize any of that. But, of course, in our Gaudiya Sampradaya, Lord Chaitanya does emphasize that the supreme rasa is Madhurya rasa. That kind of encourages people to do that. But if you don't have attraction for that and you're in Sakya rasa, fine. As I said, Lord Chaitanya's associates, some were in Sakya rasa. And they wrote Padurtis of Raganuga on Sakya rasa also. And they had followers, so nobody criticized them also. So in that sense, we shouldn't criticize. As for the idea about Vaidhi Bhakti, this, of course, is kind of emphasized by Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati and Srila Prabhupada that, we follow the rules and regulations and whatever like that. At the same time, if you look in Chaitanya Charitamrita, basically, it doesn't mention Vaidhi Bhakti at all. It's all Raganuga. And he says, if you don't practice Raganuga, you don't go to Goloka. You end up in somewhere else, in Dwarka or somewhere instead. So obviously what that means is ultimately, if you're aspiring for Vrindavan, then you would have to go to Raganuga, which means you have to ultimately not see Krishna as Supreme Lord, but as, like, Vasudeva and Devaki, but like Nanda and Yasoda or the gopis or the cowherd boys. You have to develop that mood. So to develop that mood, then you follow after them, and that's called Raganuga, which sounds very logical. At a certain point, we do have to follow that mood. We can't keep saying, okay, yeah, we like everything, we like Radha Krishna and everything, but we see them as Supreme Lord. Then, even if you get Madhurya rasa, it's a little bit different. It's more like Dwarka, where the queens of Dwarka have Madhurya rasa with Krishna, but they also see him as Supreme Lord. So if you want to develop the Vrindavan mood, then you have to give that up at a certain point. So though every jiva and every devotee is saying, yeah, we're eternally Krishna Das, through that cultivation, that kind of gets covered over because of the strong relationship we have with Krishna, as in with the people of Vrindavan, where that's covered over, and they think in terms of Krishna as my friend, Krishna as my lover, Krishna as my son, etc. So, the reason for the emphasis on Vaidhi Bhakti is because, particularly in the modern world, people don't like rules and regulations, and when they see Raganuga, they exploit the idea that we should be spontaneous to give up all rules and regulations and to do whatever they want. So, therefore, there is some emphasis upon following the basic rules and regulations. If we look in Nectar Devotion, 64 Angas of Bhakti, all about how to engage in devotional service. We don't even find the 4 regulative principles mentioned at all. It's a concentration on just doing your bhakti. Why doesn't he mention things like that? at that time, of course, it was assumed if you're a serious devotee, you would never think of these things anyway. But we have the modern world where everybody's engaged in these things. So we do have to be practical to the world we're living in, and therefore, we make certain principles very clear that, if you want to practice bhakti, then this, you have to follow. Even though technically they're not angas of bhakti. But we do emphasize that a little more. Whereas in Nectar Devotion 500 years ago, they're just emphasizing, do the bhakti, and everything else is expected to be automatically achieved. So, therefore, there's some practical things that the Acharyas have seen in Kali Yuga, and therefore they emphasize some rules and regulations, etc., as preliminary things. So therefore, a little more emphasis on the Vaidhi Bhakti aspect. However, even though we do emphasize Vaidhi Bhakti, etc., this also is in relation to deity worship. That's where we get a lot of Vaidhi Bhakti. Nam Sankirtan, very liberal. Everybody can do it. Whether you follow all regular principles or don't follow whatever, everybody chant the holy name. So we got both things going. And of course, the chanting of the holy name is very, very liberal, very expressive, etc. But we also understand that eventually by doing this, chanting the holy name, we should come up to standards as well. So therefore we have those standards, and more serious devotees, and we expect them to follow. Though we talk about Vaidhi Bhakti, as I said, quite a lot of it has to do with the deity worship, because in deity worship we are following Pancharatrika Vidhi, which is largely Vaidhi Bhakti. You have to do this when you worship the deity. You don't do that, you're not proper, whatever like that. A lot of the rules are in terms of deity worship, where we follow the Vaidhi Bhakti. But even there, our Vaidhi Bhakti for worshiping the deity is distinctly different from the Vaidhi Bhakti and Pancharatra that is followed by Ramanuja or Madhva. Very, very different. So their following of the rules is very strict, and ours is quite liberal. So we actually follow Pancharatra, but say minimal. We kind of minimize those rules, put them down to their very basic essence. So therefore, we follow Vaidhi Bhakti, especially in Pancharatra. Even there, we try to simplify as much as possible. Why? One, of course, is because, people in Kali Yuga are incapable of following so many rules and regulations anyway. The other is that too many rules rather restricts our sense of serving Krishna. It doesn't interfere too much with serving Vishnu, because Vaikuntha is full of rules also. But Krishna and Vrindavan, no, not so many rules there. So therefore, too many rules is going to also interfere with our development of, Vrindavan Bhakti. So therefore, we do follow Pancharatra, but at the same time, we've kind of put the rules at a minimum because of this influence of Raganuga, etc.
Hare Krishna Maharaj. Could you please explain the connection between the eternal associates of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu and Radha Krishna? Because we know that Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is the combined form of Radha Krishna, but still they're two separate forms, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu and Radha Krishna. Is it the same devotees who are with both of them?
Yeah.
Or how does that work?
So, the devotees of Krishna in Vrindavan are these different rasas. So we have Sakya, Vatsalya, Madhurya, the different rasas there, and millions of devotees in each rasa. So we have millions of gopis, millions of cowherd boys, millions of elders who are in Vatsalya rasa, and millions of servants, etc. So we get all the rasas with millions of devotees there. And they're all cowherd people in Vrindavan. So, Krishna, who has blue and he's playing a flute and he's got cowherd boy dress, manifests himself as Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, who is not blue, he is golden in color, is not a cowherd boy. He's a young little Brahmin boy instead. And he acts like a human being more than a cowherd boy. Then he has the mood of Radha. So he is Krishna, but also covered over because he's acting as a devotee of Krishna in the mood of Radha. So Krishna is there with all of his devotees. He comes as Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, and again, those devotees manifest also with Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. But just like Lord Chaitanya is covered over and acting like a human being, so all the devotees also there acting like human beings, not like cowherd boys or cowherd people. So therefore, we find many devotees in Sakya Rasa, Madhurya Rasa, Vatsalya Rasa, or Dasya Rasa, but it's a little bit covered over because of the, they're acting as human beings in association with Lord Chaitanya, who's, propagating the Nam Sankirtan movement. So, therefore, Lord Chaitanya does not do Raslila. There's so many different, he doesn't display, lifting Govardhan Hill or whatever like that. His main activity is Nam Sankirtan, preaching the glories of Nam Sankirtan. But within that then, these different devotees who were previously in Krishna's rasas and different relationships with Krishna, they manifest with Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. So we get Radha in another form manifests as Gadadhar Pandit, so that's the Madhurya Rasa, but it is covered over, as I said. We get Sakya Rasa with Balaram and Nityananda is there. And I said the cowherd boys manifest as associates of Balaram, and they're all in Sakya Rasa with Lord Chaitanya and Nityananda. We get parental rasa like Jagat Ballabha, Sachimata, and all that. Parents are there. So we get the rasas, but not exactly like in Vrindavan, a little bit covered over, but the relationships are there. Sometimes they're a little bit difficult to detect, but they're all identified in works like Gaur Ganodesh Deepika of Kavi Karnapura.
Hare Krishna Maharaj. Maharaj, as you mentioned that there are different, somebody who wants to love Krishna and Vatsalya Ras, and just it came to my mind that what if somebody have a desire to serve or to be a parent of Krishna, like as Yashoda Mai.
Yeah.
So how does Krishna respond to that? Because there is already Yashoda Mai there.
Yeah, so we cannot take another eternal associate's place. So for instance, in Vrindavan, we have Nanda and Yasoda in Vatsalya Rasa, but all the elder cowherd men and women are also in Vatsalya Rasa with Krishna. So we have, Nanda has brothers also, so they're in a Vatsalya Rasa with Krishna, and their wives also like that. So you can always be an associate of Nanda and Yasoda and have a relationship with Krishna and Vatsalya.
But it won't be like a direct parent, like
not direct parent, not direct parent.
Okay, for that maybe Krishna has to come in different universe and different avatars, and maybe. Also, Maharaj, as you mentioned that we follow Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, and our aim is though Madhurya, as a sampradaya, but sometimes we feel that we are more inclined towards Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, and doesn't have much taste for Radha Krishna as such, because Chaitanya Mahaprabhu and Nityananda Prabhu, we have more affection. So that maybe is natural, I suppose, and we don't have to, because some devotees have more love for Vrindavan, whereas some has more for Mayapur, and I think what I'm trying to say is maybe this is natural and we don't have to force it. Can you please comment on it, please?
Yeah. Of course, we should never separate Lord Chaitanya from Krishna, because Lord Chaitanya is saying worship Krishna, so we can never separate the two. And Lord Chaitanya is another form of Krishna. So if you worship Lord Chaitanya, you can never say, well, I'll worship Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, I won't worship Krishna. You cannot say that also. It's like a contradiction of terms. So, but there always may be a prominence of, who we're going to worship. Some people may be worshiping Lord Chaitanya, but they have more prominent attraction to Krishna also like that. But in our sampradaya, what we say is that to get to Krishna, you have to worship Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, especially Radha Krishna. Then you have to get to go through Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. So then there's a necessity of worshiping Chaitanya Mahaprabhu somewhere along the line. If we develop a relationship with Lord Chaitanya and worship him, then we also worship Krishna. Where do we go? You can, of course, go to Krishna ultimately, if that's your goal, and enter there. But if you have great attraction to Chaitanya Mahaprabhu also, you can also be with Lord Chaitanya, and you can also be with both. Just as the associates of Lord Chaitanya also are in Vrindavan Leela. They have forms in Vrindavan Leela and forms in Chaitanya Leela. And so a person doing sadhana can also enter into both pastimes, and he can have one form in Goloka, one form in Navadvip. They can simultaneously have service in both places.
Yes, Maharaj, thank you.
Hare Krishna Maharaj, just a question on a slightly different topic. When sadhakas go through suffering, many times they approach astrologer to see what's going on, and even devotee astrologers. So sometimes I have seen that some of the devotee astrologers giving advice to go for remedial parihara yajnas and pujas which are centered around demigods. And this is for sadhaka bhaktas who are initiated. So what's going to be the effect of, and the logic they are given is, if you have a disease, you go to a doctor, you don't go to Krishna. Similarly, you don't disturb Krishna, go to a demigod, and then after all, it is to serve Krishna. So this is a kind of logic that's been given. So how can we understand this?
Yeah. So you go to a doctor and he gives you some medicine, but if the medicine's non-veg medicine, maybe you won't want to take it. Just like the Ayurvedic doctor may give you some medicine and it's got buffalo, what is it? I think some fat in it. They put some animal fat in some of the preparations. We said, no, we don't want to take that one. So we try to find alternatives. So of course, if it's devotee astrologers, they should be responsible not to recommend prayashchittas or pariharas which involve devata worship. So if they're going to worship, it should be Vishnu worship, Krishna worship. And for every devata, there's also a higher form of a avatar. So if it's the sun deity, Surya Dev, then we have Ramchandra. If it is the Mars deity, we have Nrsimha Dev. So for each of the planets, which basically they're doing some remedial measure for a certain planet which is afflicted or weak or whatever, we have also an avatar form. So better to worship the avatars than to worship the devatas. And that way we're not really committing any offense.
Hare Krishna Maharaj. In Goloka, we hear about two aspects, the Aishwarya aspect and the sweetness aspect of the Lord. So my question is the sweetness aspect only in the Bhauma Vrindavan, or is it also in the eternal spiritual world?
Sweetness.
Yeah.
So in the spiritual world, with the Vrindavan in the spiritual world, it is all sweetness. Of course, we can say there is Aishwarya always because Krishna is both, but if he manifests it, it gets covered over even by the people there. So Krishna may display powers, but then the people of Vrindavan look at it, so that's not Krishna. It's a Vishnu operator or something else. As we see when Krishna lifts Govardhan Hill, then everybody sees Krishna lifting Govardhan Hill. How can he do that? He's just a small child. He's 7 years old or something, or 5 years old. He's lifting on the little finger of his left hand. How is it possible? So then Mother Yasoda tells him, it's not Krishna. Krishna's not doing that. You see, if Balaram, he's also holding up the mountain, and all the cowherd men are helping Krishna lift up the mountain. So it's not Krishna doing it, it's other people are doing it. So Mother Yasoda will find another excuse every time somebody challenges. See, she's not Krishna's God. So Krishna may display powers, but then the people of Vrindavan generally cover it up. Another example is when Nanda was captured by Varuna, and then Krishna went down and saved Nanda Maharaj, and then Varuna was praying to Krishna, and all the Devatas were there praying to Krishna, please forgive us for offending Nanda Maharaj, etc. Nanda came back and he told the people, oh, I think Krishna is Supreme Lord, because all the Devatas were offering respects to Krishna. And then everyone was saying, oh, Krishna Supreme Lord, have him show something to us, we want to see something. So then Krishna showed Brahman and spiritual world to everybody. And then after that, they forgot about it all. And they went back to worshiping Krishna again after they saw all this, Krishna and Goloka and the Vedas praising him, etc. Then they just forgot everything, and then said, no, Krishna's our son, so all of this is not real. So greatness is shown, but then it gets covered over, whether it's in our material pastimes or in the spiritual world.
Because in the spiritual world, we hear that Krishna is only in the Kaishora form.
Yeah.
So, if somebody is aspiring for say, Sakhya Ras in a younger form of the Lord, will they be always eternally with the Lord in the Bhauma pastime?
So even though Krishna is in Kaishor form, even in where Krishna gets, grows up in the material world, he eventually gets to Kaishor form, he does not lose his relationship with the cowherd boys or with Mother Yasoda or Nanda, even though he is older. So Mother Yasoda still sees him, even though he is Kaishor, she'll see him as a small child because of her affection. And the cowherd boys will see him as their equal, which is like 5 years old or something like that. So it is said that the Kaishor form is such that the people in Vatsalya Rasa or Sakya Rasa will see Krishna a little bit differently from the gopis who see Krishna in Kaishor. So that the Kaishor is such that all the devotees can see him differently.
Thank you, Maharaj. Maharaj, one more question. In the spiritual world, you were explaining about Mahaprabhu. So there is also eternal loka for Mahaprabhu's devotees. So my question is, Rupa Goswami, for instance, he was in Sadhaka Deha, and then his eternal Deha is the Rupa Manjari. So what about the other associates of the Lord? So all their Sadhaka Dehas will be eternally in that spiritual world, or? Yeah,
well, these are eternal associates who have a form as associates of Lord Chaitanya, which are eternal. So we have Lord Chaitanya in the spiritual world, then he has the Goswamis there, he has Nityananda and Panchatattva and everybody around him. Plus, then we have Krishna with all of his associates that are like expansions. So, therefore, the Goswamis are their eternal associates of the Lord, plus they, of course, have their leelas with Krishna. So the Goswamis are Manjaris, and then others are Sakhis like Vishaka or Lalita, etc. Others are Sakyarasa, like cowherd boys, whatever. So they have both roles eternally in the spiritual world, as associates with Lord Chaitanya and as, eternal associates.
Hare Krishna Maharaj, I've been advised this is the last question. So Maharaj, when we hear about, like for the symptoms of a sadhaka at the stage of nishtha, he's free from those 5, lay, vikshep, freedom from sleep or distraction during devotional activities. And when we hear of them and we assess ourselves, we are obviously not there and not anartha nivrit. But at the same time, as we hear today from today's discourse, that we can choose our rasa. And Gopa Prabhu also asked a related question on that. What I have heard from you now is that in the Chaitanya Charitamrita, there is no starting point. You can start early on as well. But when I see that my practice is not at the point where it should be,
Then you do Vaidhi Bhakti.
then Vaidhi,
Yes. Until you develop that greed to follow that path of Raganuga, which means then you would choose a particular rasa, then you do Vaidhi Bhakti. That's what Nectar Devotion says.
right.
It may be before Nishta, it may be after Nishta. Depends.
So even before Anartha Nivritti, we can actually aspire for something?
Well, that's, as I said, in Raghavartma Chandrika, the Rupa Vishwanath says that you could start your sadhana with Raganuga. As I said, with the Vallabha Sampradaya, basically it's all Raganuga. So people join that Sampradaya, then they start off with Raganuga.
Yes, Maharaj. Thank you, Maharaj.
Okay. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Jai. So some books are there. Anyone want to take from Maharaj hand, you can take. Today, read Chaitanya Shikshamrita. It's the essence of whole Gaudiya literatures compiled by Bhaktivedanta. And then we have Jaiva Dharma. So whoever not having the habit of reading books can take it and read. So Jaiva Dharma. And then who want to be masters in Gita translated by Prabhupada also can read Baladev Vidya Bhushan's commentary. It's called Gita Bhushana. So some books are there. Anyone want can take it. Guru Prabhu. Heavy books, you also. And this is a very